Hello and welcome. My name is Chris White, Head of Cyber and Innovation for the South East Cyber Resilience Centre. Today's session is designed for governors and the senior leadership team within schools. I will be highlighting the key threats faced by schools and explaining the steps that need to be put in place to reduce the chances of being targeted and mitigate the damage any cyber incident could cause. So during 2020, the educational sector was increasingly targeted by criminals through cybercrime to gain access to data and commit fraud. We are also seeing this in 2021. It is important to recognise that cybersecurity awareness is not just seen as an IT issue, and like safeguarding, it is something that all staff need to be aware of and regularly review their knowledge and processes. So the 5 recommended areas that we're going to be looking at is backing up your data, protecting from malware and ransomware, device safety, strong passphrases, and understanding phishing attacks. When looking at the Cybersecurity Breaches Survey back in 2020, out of all the organisations surveyed, 46% highlighted that they had suffered cyber incidents. You can see from the left-hand side companies that had at least one breach in 12 months, and then moving across to the right-hand side, the frequency increases to several times a day. At the end, even more worrying, a figure of I just don't know how many times I've had an incident. Breaches, what are they? Well, the most common point of compromise at the moment is phishing emails. That's where the fraudulent email comes into the member of staff and the staff's then directed potentially to a fraudulent website. And as you can see on that graph, that is clearly the most common. The next stage is probably ransomware, and that's where important information is made unavailable, whether it's on a short-term or permanent basis. It could be encryption, whereby you just can't access your own data. Short term is obviously you utilise your golden backups and you then recover yourself. Malware infections spreading across your networks, yes, they do impact on computers and servers, but they also can spread across to what's called the Internet of Things. Now that is printers, your smart boards, it could be your VoIP telephone system, you use the internet to make phone calls. Could be a whole host of things that could impact on you, and I understand in the educational sector that pupils pay for lunch using fingerprint recognition scanners, so if your network's offline then you have some difficulties there. So attacks are generally more targeted, they are demanding bigger ransoms. Organisations are increasingly being targeted by ransomware instead of individuals. Well, why? Well, the criminals can demand more money from them and victims are more likely to pay. Ransomware actors are also becoming increasingly sophisticated in their targeting, and they will investigate their targets' networks to understand their business critical systems and data, and also their ability to pay. Once this reconnaissance has taken place, they then may activate the ransomware part of their attack. But also look at who is internally, potentially accidentally or maybe negligently causing issues. So that is in the educational sector, you have unauthorised use of computers by pupils. You also have staff, they may accidentally be clicking on things or downloading things which is not being approved by IT. So looking through that list of different instances and events there, you can see people impersonating your schools. So there's technical items that you can put in place to prevent impersonation of your school's emails. We talk about important school information changed without permission, so that's the right people with the right credentials to access the right areas of the database. Not everybody needs access to all areas. And then down to the bottom, leaking confidential information from an online system. That is anything from accidentally incorrectly programming maybe an Amazon web bucket, or someone's put the wrong thing on social media. All of these events can be planned, but they must feature on your risk register. So when we look at outcomes of a cyber incident, at the top we have no listed impacts. So that's the returns which people didn't want to say or just left it blank. But it gets more accurate as you go down the list. New measures needed for future attacks. So where a certain style of attack could be prevented from reoccurrence, that could be the implementation of a new policy or the installation of some new equipment. After a cyber attack, you're going to lose access to some of the normal business continuity, so staff will be diverted to undertake new functions whilst you're in a recovery phase. They're unable to carry out their daily work. There will be associated repair and recovery costs. That could be anything from your IT team working overtime, or it could be a third-party supplier bought in, or a forensic supplier bought in to actually restore your systems. If you're a business, you'd be worried at this stage because you'd be losing revenue, your share value might be decreasing, but certainly in the educational sector you may not necessarily be impacted on that, but you would be prevented from teaching. That is going to prompt complaints from, I guess, staff, pupils, students, parents. You're then going to attract some reputational damage. People may be discouraged from coming towards your organisation. And again, at the end of that, there's the goodwill compensation and fines and legal costs, which could be the likes of Information Commissioner's Office. So in relation to a financial figure being placed on cybersecurity breaches, for the small, mediums and charities it's just over 3,000, and for the bigger firms it's just over 5,000. So let's look at phishing emails. Usually a rather taboo topic. When everyone's onboarded to a company, the assumption is that everyone knows what a phishing email looks like and everyone then knows how to handle one, what to do. But there are some tips which we can give out here. So get the gist of this one. This is a standard phishing email coming into an organisation. Someone's been around my house, tried to deliver a parcel, I wasn't in or I was unavailable, and effectively I need to log in or download this attachment to a rearranged delivery. So look at the gist of it, and is the time date stamp up the top? Can you see, does that match the sort of service that they're trying to provide? So was someone around my house at 10 to 5 in the morning? Probably not, I'd suggest. So for me, I would probably delete this one straight away based on that. Then you go down the email. Now, do you have a relationship with the sender? Do you recognise the sender's email address? Firstly, if you do, be cautious when you click on the links. If you don't recognise a sender, then you definitely shouldn't be clicking on any links. What sort of relationship is there on the header? So you are aware that you can hover your mouse over the email address and then you can see the data behind it, which might indicate the actual email address it's coming from. Some of your systems in your organisations can be automatically programmed to display the genuine real email address it's coming from. Others you may have to get into the habit, certainly when you're at home as well, get into the habit of hovering over the email address to see the exact real email address. On a mobile device, if you actually click on the email address, it will show you. So on this particular one, it says here it's from customer services at ups.com. It is quite simple to make that read anything. So we hover over it and there we see the real email address behind it, ntxresearch.com. I mean, that has nothing to do with ups.com, so that's a straight delete from me. It's now guided me down to the attachment. You may not be aware, but things like .zip file, zip, .exe, .rar, all of these are pretty much attachments where you double click on it and then it gives the computer permission to download that particular application or software. It would then, the computer that is, will be doing stuff in the background which you won't be aware of what's going on. Usually you see there things like PDFs or Word or PowerPoint or Excel. When you open up, I don't know, an Excel document on modern machines, you'll see that it will open up and it will display macros disabled or opened in protected view. That's because you can actually hide a virus within a Microsoft Office product. They're called macro viruses. So if you are opening up Word, PowerPoint and Excel in protected view, leave it in protected view. You don't necessarily need to have all the facilities and features available to you. But certainly I'd be looking at my organisation and preventing me from downloading and opening certain attachments because you just don't need them. You can put protection in to stop that. So that's definitely one thing. If it isn't happening in your organisation, you can put that method in to stop it. Look at the header. Again, if they have been around my house trying to deliver a parcel, I would expect them to say something like "Dear Chris." It's clear this is a vague email. They are spamming many people with the same email. They don't know everyone's details. So again, that could be a straight delete. We've got down the bottom there some grammar and literacy errors. Yes, they were always an old indicator of poorly written emails, rushed emails, could be a phishing email, but they are getting better at this. So not always a dead giveaway there. What I would say is once you've trained your staff training is important, that give the staff the confidence to report phishing emails. Yes, if it's not a phishing email and they can be given some straight up training there and then, that's always good because it takes a while to change the culture within an organisation. And what you want is your workforce actually reporting phishing emails into the IT teams. They can then adjust the firewalls and prevent the phishing emails getting in? And again, do you have a reward policy in place so you can change the culture maybe a little bit quicker? Certain examples I've seen are IT departments sending chocolates in internal mail, or senior leadership team going around to people whilst in the open plan office and actually congratulating people on taking positive steps. Others will see, hear and observe, and again that will influence the positive changer. Well, here we see a typical phish targeting education. You can see it's from a Hotmail address, it's titled University of Cambridge. It's then sent to a variety of cambridge.ac, which is University of Cambridge email addresses. It says Dear Contributor, again a little bit vague, plus the email address on there. You'll be seeing one or the other. The offering of reimbursement of funds, directing you to a time deadline when you need to actually claim these buys, so putting the onus on you, saying if you don't claim something really quickly you're not going to get your money, and then sending you through to reassuring you by saying this is our official page. And again, hover over the website link, the URL, and it will actually display at the bottom of your page the website address it's going to take you to. Looking at it from right to left, if we go back to the .com and then the MGIFINC, there's your non-genuine bit. That's the domain it's going to take you to. Not many universities call themselves this, but just get into the habit of hovering over if you don't like what you see here straight away. But even if it does look genuine, hover over it and see where it's going to take you. So in relation to the phishing emails and how we can prevent them with staff training, there's also a whole host of technical controls which you can put in place to protect your systems and protect your staff. So at the top, I mean, when we look at the cybersecurity schools all the way back in 2019, a lot of equipment is already in place. So from the top down, firewalls, I think we're looking at there 100% of all ed schools had firewalls in place. Majority of them also had antivirus malware protection in place. The key here is you have the antivirus installed. Is it checking every day that it is downloading the latest signatures? Additionally, is it doing an antivirus sweep on your machine every day and weekly, doing a full set system scan? Data backups. Are you actually backing up your data? Is it being stored offline? Do you have a whole host of backups available? And again, is someone actually practicing the restore process? So if the day comes when it's your organisation that gets hit with or ransomware, is there somebody that knows what the restore process is and can effectively and efficiently deploy that? Keeping software up to date, again, this is quite important. So overnight there could be weaknesses or exploits found by hackers. The manufacturers would then respond accordingly with the latest version which patches that weakness. It's then publicised and then automatically installed the next time you turn your computer on, if your computer's been programmed to do that. So effectively your computer deploys, installs, updates a vulnerability that you may not have even known about, and that's patch management. Restricting your staff, again, having some sort of restrictions in place that not everybody needs to download any sort of software or apps that they want. There should be restrictions in place that only authorised pieces of software or apps can be downloaded on the works machines. It's called the least privilege principle. Only the people that need access to certain stuff get it for that business need. Does your school have an IT security policy or plan? So again, when you onboard a member of staff, they're given the cyber security training input, the health and safety input, the medical input. Cyber should definitely be in there. The Information Commissioner's Office suggests that there should be best practice that you should have cyber security onboard training within a month of working at that organisation, and at very least they should have their training within 2 months of being there. So the cybersecurity plan is important because it's directing your staff on how to respond in the event of attack and what to do if they suspect an attack. Encryption. Again, we're now down to, I think, the mid 80% of organisations have encryption deployed. So when your data is sat on the computers not doing anything, i.e. it's in its saved state, it should be encrypted. If I manage to hack into the school and take a copy of the data, it is useless to me because it is completely encrypted. So if it didn't have encryption and I managed to hack into the systems and take a copy of it, I can do what I want with it because it's not encrypted. So when the data is at rest or when it's in transit, i.e. been sent through emails, you should have encryption in place as a matter of course. Now we're down to limiting the use of USB drives. Again, this is a pretty simple fix. The IT department can just block the USB ports on computers. Only the people that realistically need to have USB memory sticks available to them receive the enhanced training. You ensure that there's malware protection and virus scanning on every time they put it in, but not everybody needs access to USB drives. There is cloud storage available, there is file storage available. The days of where everyone can walk around with memory sticks, I'd suggest, is probably long gone. Again, when we're looking at administrator accounts or business email accounts, where you can, where it's available, we should always have two-factor authentication activated. The importance of that is that if I somehow shoulder surf you, so I stood behind you whilst looking over your shoulder and watch you type in your password, or you're subject to a data breach and I know your password, effectively I try and log into your account, I get to the next barrier, the next screen, which says what's the 6-digit code that I've either sent to your text through a text message to your phone, or the codes that rotate regularly every 30 seconds on an authenticator app. Without that 6-digit code, I then can't get into your email account or your user account, even having your password. So 2FA, two-factor authentication, it is available in many places and it is a really good step for cybersecurity. Then we've got down the bottom the remote tracking. So more people are issued mobile phones or smartphones, smart devices in the workplace now. We need to have mobile device management policies in place. What does that mean? Well, that means that if someone's lost a phone, you can remotely locate it, you can remotely track it, you can remotely wipe it, you can restrict people downloading the game, whatever apps that they want. They only get to download the authorised apps. So mobile device management policy just controls the way that smartphone operates. So we talk about increasing your cyber resilience. So on this screen, we practice fire alarm drills, don't we, weekly in most places. We then do quarterly first aid trainings, we do CPR training. So if those the dreaded incidents ever occur of a fire or a medical emergency, we react. It's innate, we just jump to it and it's all hands to the deck. But in this modern world, I couldn't remember the last time there was a fire in the building I work at or a medical emergency, but cyber attacks are happening hundreds of times a minute, but it's something that I rarely see organisations drill or train for. So when we discussed that, the cybersecurity schools audit with schools, 97% of schools all replied saying that losing access to network connected IT would cause considerable disruption. So I would advocate that you practice cyber drills. Certainly when we look at the top 10 there on the list on the right, you've definitely got to take cyber seriously now. It's here. Sometimes people refer to it as a case of when it's going to occur, not if, more like when. Train your staff, continue professional development, so when they first come to your organisation you give them the induction training, and then throughout their employment you give them refresher training. Cyber is a must really, cyber training. In relation to your own policies, you must have an IT policy so you know what's acceptable, preferable and unacceptable. Cyber must sit on your risk register, and when you look at that, then that leads on to your business continuity plan, so you know what good looks like, you know what normal looks like. And then when you fall out of that areas, you then got disaster recovery phases, so what to do when it's gone wrong, how to fix it, and let's get us back onto the normal business again. You review the list of prevention measures which we spoke about in the previous slides. Have a look at the National Cybersecurity Centre password policy, and more like the passphrase policy. So that's the longer the characters, the better. How do we achieve that? 3 random words. And always use the multi-factor authentication, also known as the two-factor authentication. If your organisation accepts payments, then you must be PCI compliant. And then speak to your broadband and your email provider as well and find out what they are actually doing to keep you secure. Get a list of the items which they're doing. You can then check to see what is good enough. What does good look like? The same question goes out to your technical partners as well. What are you already doing to protect me? What are the different levels of protection, so that you can benchmark what good looks like. And remember, once you've got your school being cyber secure, it will keep your staff and your children safe. So I know in the somewhat complex times when we talk about cyber, we're probably more comfortable dealing with the fire and floods. But if you do need help, then the Cyber Resilience Centres are here. It's a network across the country, but certainly in the southeast. We are secrc.co.uk. You can sign up for free membership, whereby we can give you access to a lot of materials as and when you need it. It can be bite-sized, we can do cyber exercising. Certainly have a look at the website and sign up for the free call membership. Now there are some particular resources available to schools. So when we talk about school staff, we have up here the cybersecurity practical tips. All of these will be listed at the end of the video, so you can access it yourself using a reputable search engine, and you can go to the websites direct and read the stuff when it's convenient for you. But certainly have a look at the cybersecurity practical tips from the National Cybersecurity Centre. Again, then pop over to the Cyber Aware Hub site, which is also on the same website with the National Cybersecurity Centre. There's a lot of helpful information on there, especially in the current times, and where there's a lot of staff working from home. It's making sure that you keep your devices safe at home as well for your loved ones and friends and family. There will be a cybersecurity training pack bespoke for schools being launched very soon this year. But again, when we talk about phishing emails, it's one thing to delete it and inform your IT team. There's another one called the Suspicious Email Reporting Service. If you've got hold of that phishing email, forward it off to the National Cybersecurity Centre's Suspicious Email Reporting Service. They will analyse it, they will see where these phishing emails are being generated and sent from, and they will look to take down the computers in those locations to prevent them from sending any further messages. So you may have picked up on it was a phishing email, but maybe a friend or a colleague or family member might not be so clever, and they may fall for the fish. So the ideal opportunity there is to forward it off to the reporting service, and they can do the takedown and prevent any further of those emails being sent on. Again, at the National Cybersecurity Centre, we've got a e-learning package available where it's top tips. It's a package you can download yourself, or if you're in the senior leadership team, you can encourage or mandate all of your staff to actually do the training. Have a look at it. It is a good package. If you're sat on the governing board or the school leaders board, certainly you want to know what good looks like. There's a toolkit for the trustees and board members just to pose the right questions, signpost you to the correct advice, so that you know you're comfortable when you're managing the cybersecurity risks. It will then assist you in developing your cyber continuity plans and your risk register. Then moving down the bottom to the school IT team or school IT providers, there's some documents here which they should be familiar with, which is the 10 steps to cybersecurity, which is key guidance aimed at corporate IT teams, best practice, how you should follow starting and dealing with the risk. Cyber Essentials is the government accreditation where there's about 70 to 80 questions on there, and it's getting your ducks in a row effectively. Once you've programmed and configured systems to be correct, having individual user accounts, having strong passwords, you're going to get to a certain level where cybersecurity is taken seriously and you can be Cyber Essentials accredited. For some organisations, achieving Cyber Essentials actually entitles them to free cyber insurance, so that's worth looking at. If unfortunately the worst happens and you get hit by a cyber event, maybe it's ransomware or network intrusion, there is a response and recovery guidance which can help schools prepare their response and plan your recovery to an incident. And then in this day and age when there's plenty more people working from home in an agile environment, the home working guidance is there for people to look at. And again, it does benefit people in their own lives as well. This is not strictly related to the workplace. So if a cyber incident occurs, please report it to Action Fraud, and if you're up in Scotland, report it to Police Scotland. If it involves a data breach, then there's under the GDPR guidelines, the Information Commissioner's Office needs to know. So thanks for sitting through and listening today. Certainly everything I spoke about will be available after this last slide and put online. Do pop over to the South East Cyber Resilience Centre's website, which is secrc.co.uk, visit the membership section and sign up for free call membership. Thank you again.